We are all set. What?
Who are you and what have you done with Lauren? No, keep rolling, keep rolling.
Why?
Keep rolling. We'll keep that. We'll keep that.
This is just more content, is it?
Here's the ranking. We'll put an intro right there. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, and after 4 long months of many hurdles and hiccups to get this video up, here she is back on the channel. This is the same Lauren, different hair, but it is the same Lauren, I assure you, aside from that cold open.
Well, of course.
How you doing, though?
I'm doing pretty awesome. I am so ready to be back. I'm so ready for this.
Yeah, and you know...
So ready. You have no idea.
Me too. I agree with you completely. And thank you all for making that Disney pod that we did 4 months ago one of the most highly viewed on the channel. It really does mean the world. It's flooring. But yeah, so here we are, the highly requested sequel to our Disney ranking. We're gonna rank the Pixar films, our top 10 rather. We're not gonna do all of them because we don't want to keep you for 22 hours. But boy, I gotta tell you, this list for me, a lot tougher than the first one we did.
This was actually easier for me. It was like less to
Really?
choose from. And I do have to say, it's like I kind of had like a solid foundation for a lot of the films and everything. I do have to say, with the whole 2020 business going on, it definitely changed.
Yeah, 2021 now, for sure, you know, but I'm glad to have you here. I'm glad that all of you are here as well. If you guys are new here, please definitely do consider hitting that subscribe button. We are on the road to 500 and counting over here, which is still absolutely baffling to me. Thank you all so much once again. Hit that thumbs up button by the end if you enjoyed this video also. It's bound to be a good time. Lauren and I are going to argue for about the next hour or so about...
Well, I mean, that's a given.
Yeah, but just so you know, guys, my list has been proven to be scientifically correct. There is no other opinion.
No.
My opinion
Absolutely
is
not.
final. They are facts.
Absolutely not. Mine is going to get the popular vote.
No, I kidding aside, guys, I definitely do want to discuss all of these films with you, all down in the comment section below. So holler at us down in the comments. What are your top 10 favorite Pixar films? Let's have a further discussion about this. Let's argue further also. I mean, you know, it's all in good fun, of course. Lauren and I are here to have fun today. So,
well, I mean, I'm here, so it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you guys, I'm sure, know how these countdowns work on this channel, or any channel, rather. Lauren is the very dignified guest. She will go first every single round, and then we will count down from 10 to 1, basically, and have some arguments along the way, I'm sure. But
oh, for sure. It's like...
I mean, it's Pixar. Can I not talk today? Friendships should not be lost over Pixar, my friends.
Trying to make me feel feelings like a Pixar movie. I'm not doing it.
Alright, well, let's get this countdown on the road. Lauren's got her Finding Nemo themed attire. I have got my Finding Nemo / Deadpool themed attire right here. I think it's perfectly fitting because Deadpool was just announced that he was going to be in the MCU for Deadpool 3, so perfectly fitting to have it, but, yeah, I'm really curious to see how yours shakes out. I feel like I have a feeling I know what your number 1 is. I mean, we were talking a little bit about it earlier, but...
I mean, you can guess all you want, but...
Like I said, Go ahead.
But the thing is, it's like, my list, it's like, I decided it.
She did. And she will be wrong.
I will be right.
Alright, well, let's just get right down to the chase. This was... Honestly, one last thing before we start, Lauren. I did say that this was a harder list for me just because all of Pixar's films are just incredible.
I couldn't agree with you more on there. It's like...
I know Disney Animation has more, like, to their catalog, and Pixar's only been around since 1995. So, considerably smaller. But all of them, except for a certain trilogy of films that I'm sorry to say is on neither of our lists. So, sorry to all the Cars fans out there. Not really. But all of them have been quality, Lauren. I mean,
they really have. It's like, and then also, it's like, I'm really glad that we didn't come up with any conditions for this like we did for the Disney ones, so...
Yes, yeah, because if there weren't any conditions, I feel like Mary Poppins would have topped the list. But, I don't know. That might be just me. But yeah, let's have a further discussion about this. Let's have some fun. Lauren, are you ready?
I am so ready for this. You have no idea.
All right. Well, I hope so, because here it comes. Number 10.
Okay, so my number 10 on the list, you are going to flip out when you see this.
And I'm sure everybody in the comments is going to flip out too. What you got?
I have Toy Story 2.
I'm so disappointed in you, but yeah,
Why?
please explain why.
I knew you'd be disappointed in me, and here's why. So first of all, Toy Story was the very first franchise, and I still have to say, like, going through, like, all 4 films, this is definitely my favorite out of all of them. I think the reason that it's... What are you giving me that look
go ahead.
for?
No, I wasn't giving you that look. If it's your favorite of the franchise and it's only number 10... I'm just sitting here thinking, what could top that?
Okay. So in terms of, like, what could top it, you'll hear about it later, but I feel like Toy Story 2 is a little bit lower on my list because, being the feminist that I am, I feel like Jessie could have had a little bit more in the story. I feel like her entrance in the entire, like, series was picture perfect. They did an amazing job with showing, like, the Owl's Toy Barn. They did an amazing job with, like, and I've noticed this about Pixar films, they always know how to scale everything down to a smaller size, from, like, a toy's point of view, a rat's point of view, a monster's point of view, and so on. And yeah, pretty much. My only, like, downer is that, like, it was one of their earlier works, and I think they were still trying to figure out where the story was going to be going and everything, so...
I understand that. You know, I love Toy Story 2. It's probably my most nostalgic Pixar film, like, on my list, because it is considerably higher on my list, and I'll get to that when we get to that, but...
oh, for sure.
You know, I definitely agree with you on a lot of fronts. There's a lot of things that really work about Toy Story 2, Jessie being one of them. You know,
definitely one of the best, like, female Pixar characters of all time.
Oh, for sure. Joan Cusack, I believe it's Joan Cusack. Yeah,
oh, yeah,
she did a wonderful job with it, and, like, she's just so energetic and so funny and so rambunctious. Like, you know, it just feels like she's someone I could have, like, hung out with in my high school years, you know, like, in theater.
Absolutely.
Like, you know...
She's like the friend from high school that you would just love to hang out with.
She's like the big, you know, theater geek from high school that you always love keeping in touch with, you know, just because she's so, like... She's so energetic, you know, and it's infectious.
Yes,
you can't help but
I was
respond
about
to
to say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much coffee she drinks.
Probably not very much, because she should... I swear I can't talk. Probably not very much, because she's a toy. It's going to be a long hour and a half or so.
Yeah, I mean, there's still plenty of cheese puffs to go around.
There is. And that scene also, like, I forgot how tense that scene was. It's Woody trying to get his arm back from dastardly Al sleeping on the couch. And he's got to go through a big minefield of cheese puffs. And it's so, like... It's very silly in, you know, in nature and in concept, but Pixar made it work, and it's a great scene. Bullseye was being a distraction by eating all of them and, you know, making a bunch of noise, but I love it.
Oh, of course. And then another thing I've got to say about Toy Story 2, it's like, this was one of the movies I also got to see, like, right before I went to Disney World for the first time when I was 5, so It definitely has, like, a lot of the nostalgic, like, components for me and everything. But I feel like Toy Story 2 is the best because I feel like it developed the story, it developed the characters even more than the original trilogy.
There you go. All right. Well, if you want to keep on the same franchise, my number 10 is Toy Story 1, the first film. So a lot of people rank Toy Story 1 at the very top.
You always put the first as your 10th.
I know.
You did this with Snow White.
I did.
By the way, I had a gut feeling that this was going to be your number 10. I had a gut feeling.
I'm that predictable?
Yes, you are. At least I'm not as predictable as you.
No. I wouldn't do that to her. But a lot of people, especially on the YouTube medium, rank Toy Story at the very top. You know, and I personally, I love Toy Story. Again, there would be no Pixar without it. It's a genius idea. You
Exactly.
know, like the humans leave and the toys just spring to life. Tom Hanks and Tim Allen together, just amazing, amazing chemistry as Woody and Buzz. But, I mean, number one, I feel like the animation has taken a step up from 1995.
Oh,
it
for
clearly
sure.
looks very dated. Sid also as a villain. I mean,
oh my gosh.
Sid's a fun villain, but he's not the strongest Toy Story villain in my eyes.
Then again, it was the first film. It was like they were probably trying to figure out all the development portions within it.
They were still learning, for sure. You know, and you could tell. But there is no disputing the impact that the first film had on the studio as a whole.
Oh, of course.
Again, like I said, without it, there would be no Pixar, and we would not be sitting here talking today. And, you know, it's still a really fun story. I do think also that Woody's a great character. I don't know. It just feels like I've seen that story of him and Buzz as, like, fugitive toys before in different genres.
Yeah. But then again, it's like, when it comes to, like, films and everything, probably a lot of films in the 90s were like that, and they were trying to take that genre and bring it to another generation, because
Right.
I feel like a lot of films do that in general.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's where I wasn't introduced to it, because it's probably where I saw this story for the first time, but I'm saying, like, other films that came before it in 1995 probably
of
could have used that
course.
story. So, I don't know. I mean, it's still definitely a bucket list film for a lot of people. If you haven't seen any of the Toy Story films, I don't know what the heck is wrong with you guys. And I don't
They
know.
are classics. I know it's a little bit lower on both of our lists, but
Yeah, I think it
it
only.
is still a classic. It's what started it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And of course, it's like the first, there's always like a little bit of like edges. There's always a little bit of like flaws,
It definitely-
plot holes and everything.
It feels rough around the edges. Like, especially if you go back and watch it today in 2021, you'll notice, again, the animation isn't as crisp as it is right now in, say, Soul. It's... the dog, especially Sid's dog, does not look real in any capacity. Like, it definitely looks like he came from a computer, but... I don't know. I mean,
It's the 90s. Everything came from computers, or looked like they came from computers.
Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Jurassic Park.
Mummy 2, Scorpion King, that was the worst CGI I have ever seen in my life.
Scorpion King was 2002.
I'm talking about Mummy 2. I'm talking about Mummy 2 when he became the Scorpion King, but that's another story for another time.
But anyway, here we are. Number 9, Lauren.
Okay, so for number 9, also moving up in both the timeline and the countdown, I have Monsters, Inc.
Whoa, okay, alright.
Okay.
I love Monsters, Inc. Yeah, let's talk about
I gotta admit, like, out of all the Pixar films, this is one of my favorite franchises, and I gotta say, I know you are so gonna argue with me on this. I think Billy Crystal and John Goodman were perfectly cast for this and everything.
Okay.
And also, like, I gotta admit, they got great chemistry. It's like, Mike is a little bit more frantic, seems to be running the show the entire time, and Sully, he's basically the muscle and the heart, I guess.
Yeah, and the reason why she's saying that she knows I'm going to argue this is because I've told her on many occasions, I can't really, like, say this is something that I really agree with the Nostalgia Critic on, when he did it for his Disney December. John Goodman's fine as Sully. You know, he is perfectly cast there. I don't know, Billy Crystal to me just never really fit the design of Mike Wazowski. You know, and
But who do you think would have fit it?
Patton Oswalt, Jack Black, either one of those two. Nostalgia Critic mentioned those two names, and, you know, I'm like, hearing Jack Black's voice coming out of that design just makes more sense.
Then again, they used Patton Oswalt for another movie, which is definitely going to be on my list.
Yep, it'll definitely be on mine too. But, I mean, you get what I'm saying, though.
Yeah,
I feel
of
like
course.
Billy Crystal, he's hilarious in the role, but his style of comedy, to me, just doesn't exactly fit the design of Mike. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
Like, you know, just a big green orb with one eye just doesn't really scream vaudeville-type comedy to me.
Yeah, I get you there. But then also, it's like they kind of wanted someone that looked like an underdog. And Mike is definitely a bit more of an underdog in a lot of those ways.
I agree. I agree.
At least has, like, the cunning and, like, ambition with it, too, you know?
Yes, he does.
And then also going to other characters in the film, I have to admit, compared to, like, the Toy Story franchise, they definitely designed the villain a lot better with Randall and everything.
Fun design, for sure.
Oh, yeah, like, I remember when I was in 2nd grade, because purple was my favorite color, I actually had a Randall backpack in 1st grade.
There you go. There you go. You know, and that's another thing, too. Looking at the design of Randall, like, you didn't even need to have this guy speak one word. I could tell that was a Steve Buscemi character. Like, he was designed so perfectly.
Is that your secret talent? You could just look at a character and be like, oh, that person is voicing them.
Like Zootopia. We talked about that in our last
pod. And with Wreck-It Ralph.
Yep, exactly right. I personally don't have Monsters, Inc. on my list. I was volleying it, you know. I was volleying between putting it on.
How is that not on your list?
Trust me.
It's a classic.
You'll understand why. You'll understand why. See what I mean by arguing? I've made her so upset already. Reason why is because there are, you know, I love the film. Again, this is why this list was so damn tough for me. I really wanted to put Monsters, Inc. on there, but I just... Yeah, I couldn't. I didn't have room for it. Because my number 9, ready to get emotional? We're going to talk about Coco for a minute.
What?
Yep. Coco is number 9 for me.
I love Coco!
It's great. It's great, you know, but again, there's just other ones that...
That's just one of the movies that just gives you all the feels.
I know, especially the ending, you know, it's a very, very touching ending. I felt myself even tearing up when I was, you know, watching it at theaters with my brother. Like, you know, I could feel it. You know, it didn't get me as hard as some of the other films on this list for me, but I will say the design of the Land of the Dead, all the orange and all the
that is like one of the most well designed like settings Pixar has ever come up with. So I definitely agree with you there. The
scope of this film is just brilliant, and the musical, you know, just the musical style, you know,
and the talents in there, like they ended up casting some really amazing singers and performers.
They really did. Luis Valdez from my alma mater also makes an appearance as Miguel's uncle, I believe.
Oh, that I didn't know.
Yeah, no, it's really, really neat to hear his voice in there.
Oh, for sure.
But my thing with Coco, the villain in here, first of all, they do the common Disney trope of the 20 teens of revealing who the villain is in the 3rd act. But at least in Coco, I feel like this reveal made sense. You know, and it feels like it was built up and warranted. I was about to
say, and it's like, when it comes to like I feel like this is just a common like movie plot in terms of revealing who the villain is.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, not just in Disney movies. It's like there's someone you've always admired and then they turn out to be a complete hoax or a complete fraud or a complete cheat or something.
Fragile words to use in 2021 right now, these first couple of weeks, for sure. No, we won't get too deep into that, of course. But,
yeah, for sure.
I mean, that villain reveal is great. And, of course, the ending is just so gut-wrenching. My one big issue with Coco, deep down, is that it is very, very similar to The Book of Life.
I haven't seen The Book of Life, but...
The Book of Life is fantastic. You know, I feel like you know, if I had to put them right next to each other, I feel like I would rewatch Coco more, in a sense, but, like, again, it came out, like, 5 years after The Book of Life, and, you know, it's not, you know... Book of Life still felt fresh in our minds, I guess. So I feel like they should have waited on the Coco release at least a couple more years. But other than that, I mean, I don't really have a whole lot of complaints about it. It's a great film.
Yeah, it really is, and I definitely want to talk about it more when we get to it on my list.
Yes.
So, I'm not going to tell you when it will be, though.
Alright, yeah, well, we're getting there. Number 8.
Okay, so...
What you got?
For number 8, I have Brave.
Why? Why?
Okay, and here's why. So, I do have to say, when this first came out, I was so excited for the fact that Pixar was finally going to make a movie with a female protagonist.
Yeah.
Like, I was so excited, and I do have to say, when I first saw this, it was like, this was definitely an amazing film, and also, during the time, I was actually studying Celtic music, since I play fiddle and everything, so that just made my Celtic heart, in a way, just go
multi-talented.
Like, ah! I was very, very, very excited.
Multi-talented over here.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah. Well, I mean... My thing is, I really love the Scottish, aesthetic to the film.
Oh,
It's
for
great.
sure.
Merida, I think, is a good hero. The thing is, I just feel like I've seen the character of Merida in a bunch of other Disney projects
Yes,
before.
exactly. That's kind of why it's a little bit lower on my list. Also, Pixar kind of went in the predictable sense by making this main character a princess. So that's kind of why it's low on my list. But I do have to say, it's like this film still has like a huge place in my heart, not just because of that, but
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, of course. But also, fun fact, I actually had a friend, shout out to you, Marie, if you're watching this. I had a friend whose brother worked at Pixar at the time Brave was released.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he didn't work on the film, but I know that he worked on Coco.
There you go. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty
Never knew
awesome.
that, actually. That's
so,
neat.
One day, she ended up taking me and my brother to Pixar Animation Studios, and we got to see the concept art for Brave.
There you
so,
go.
That was pretty cool, and they also showed a bunch of the pictures from when a bunch of the animators went to Scotland for research and everything. Although it was funny, because when my brother and I first saw the concept art, we'd look at pictures and be like, oh, that's cool. Oh, there was a bear and a girl. Okay, that's cool. It was kind of funny. We saw the concept art before we saw the movie.
Can I talk about this bear plot for a second?
Yes!
The reason why Brave is not on my list is because a Pixar film should never rip off Brother Bear. It should never rip it off.
Brave will always be better than Brother Bear, and you know it.
It will.
It will always be better, but don't call something that's better a ripoff.
Yeah, but Brother Bear came out in 2003, and when did Brave come out?
2012, but...
Exactly. That's
no,
my point.
That is not your point.
Brother Bear wasn't even a hit, and they ripped it off.
I disagree with you. If it wasn't even a hit, they can't rip it off.
Well,
They can make it better, but they can't rip it off.
It just reminded me too much of Brother Bear. I'm sorry. All right, you ready for my number 8?
I am ready.
Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3. So, yeah, I know. Most of my list is, Toy Story films at this point. Yeah, you're predictable, Zach. Good on you.
Yes, you are predictable.
Thank
More
you.
predictable than me.
Thank you. Here's why Toy Story 3 is on the list over some films like Brave, like Monsters, Inc., more than others. It affected me really deeply emotionally, and I'm not just talking about the ending. All right? Put the ending aside.
Yeah, that ending just gave you all the feels.
It wrecked me.
Gonna agree with you
it wrecked
there.
me in theaters. I mean, nowadays, I'm just looking at it like, if I were to move to the college dorms and I had a bunch of my action figures that I had to give away, I would never do what Andy did. And, he just seemed like a dweeb,
He is a dweeb.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a dweeb, but, I don't know. I feel like it would have been a more effective ending had it not been drawn out as much. But it is still an amazing adventure. Lotso the Huggin' Bear smells like strawberries and is the villain. Amazing. Michael Keaton voicing Ken doll. I mean, come on now. That's just too perfect, and
Still funny how you can think of Beetlejuice being a doll.
Yep.
You gotta admit I'm right about this.
Oh, I agree with you. Yeah, no, Beetlejuice playing the Ken doll. Just don't say that a third time in this next half hour, please. She's really tempted to do it.
I might.
But anyway, yeah. So, Toy Story 3, it really affected me deeply. I thought it was going to be the last one. Admittedly, Toy Story 4 came out last year and really surprised me. Even though it's really close to being on my list, it's not. I like Toy Story 3 a little bit better, just because more emotional impact. That scene where the toys are going down into the incinerator and they just kind of stop fighting it. Oh, man, it gets you because they've accepted their fate, And that's something that another film on my countdown doesn't do, and that's ultimately what kind of holds it back from being at the top for me. Spoiler alert to you guys, but the toys accepted their fate. They were done. Andy wasn't using them anymore, so they were like, "This is it." We're just gonna spend
But then again, it could also just go with just the fact that they're not feeling as loved anymore, not just by Andy.
Yeah.
I can kind of understand the emotional impact now thinking about it.
Yeah, the themes of this movie are just so man, I can't even. But Toy Story 3,
Don't
number
cry
8
on
on my
me.
list.
Don't
I'm not gonna cry. Don't worry, it's all good.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do it. All right, yeah, no, we're getting right down to it, Lauren. Number
Yes,
7.
we are.
Number 7.
All right, so for number 7,
Enlighten me.
I have Onward.
Wow.
This-
Oh my God. Onward. Really?
Yes!
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I was hoping this would come up on your list because it's actually not on mine. I was really close again to putting it
This
on.
was the last movie that we saw in
I know.
actual theaters before this
I
whole
know.
madness happened.
I know.
So why is it not on your list?
Because there were other films that affected me more emotionally, Lauren.
Okay, this one affected me emotionally too, but okay, I guess I see
Okay.
where you're going.
Yeah, let's talk about it though.
Okay, and this is why it is number 7 on my list. It's definitely not, like, the strongest theme, because I feel like it kind of went through, like, some cheesy elements with the fantasy level, but oh my god, the plot just, like, it definitely tugged at my heartstrings
It's
a little.
great.
And I have got to say, the voice casting in this is perfect.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, Chris Pratt and Tom Holland,
Again.
they couldn't have cast perfect brothers.
Yeah.
They couldn't have cast, like, better actors for Barley and Ian. And I gotta say, like, every time I just watched the two of them, just seeing their chemistry, how they played off of each other as brothers, oh my god. It just got me every time. It was so fun.
And Tom Holland is everywhere at this point in 2021, and I feel like this film is a big reason why. Not just because of all the Spider-Man stuff he's doing right now, but also the fact that he did a Pixar film, like,
for sure.
before this whole thing started.
But then also, it kind of, like, was within his typecast, if you think about it, because...
Yeah. Tom Holland voices the blue version of our friend Mikey. Shout out to Mikey, by the way, if you're watching this. But, yeah,
poor Mikey. Poor Mikey.
So, yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. Tom Holland perfectly cast. Chris Pratt also, you could just look at the character design, and you didn't have to tell me who it was. I was like, that's Chris Pratt. 100%.
Secret talent. What did I tell you?
It is, yeah.
It's his secret talent.
Just stick me in front of any animated movie, and I can probably tell you with a mute
No,
button.
just make sure it's an animated movie he's never seen.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I also love all the comedy in this film. I just think it's hilarious.
I think it's hysterical.
I love the fact that the motorcycle gang is just a short little group of pixies. It's so incredible. I love how Chris Pratt thinks that his D&D game is based off of ancient history.
Yes, that part just...
That's a great character, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure. It really just explains, hey, he's not just some, like, delinquent or everything like everyone is thinking that he is. He's actually a very wise person. He was right all along.
Street
and
smarts.
It proves...
May not be book smart, but he's street smart.
Very, very street smart.
Yeah.
And I've also got to go to their mom and also to the Manticore. Like, Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Octavia Spencer, also great chemistry and everything.
I love the Manticore.
And I've got to admit, like, even though they had, like, mostly male-focused characters, the female characters, every time they were on screen, they just stole the show. Like, Octavia Spencer, I absolutely loved the Manticore. That was such a fun role.
One of the best actresses alive, surely, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
She's so good. You know,
I've also got to admit, like, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she definitely took on the mom role very well and everything.
Yes.
And also, I just love the scenes where it's like she's talking with the centaur, and I'm pretty sure, like, every kid who has had a parent date someone else, it's like, it's been very hard. They definitely showed how hard it was and everything, and also how annoying it can be at times, especially when the stepdad is a cop, if you think about it.
Yeah, and that's excuse me, that's another thing about this film that I think, I have a full review on this. It was one of the very first reviews I ever did on this channel, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. So I won't go too in-depth into this, but my biggest problem that I mentioned in that video is that it's kind of hard to get into the emotional aspect if it centers around a pair of pants. you know?
Yeah.
Like,
but then again, the magic is involved, so...
Right, yeah, the magic is involved, and I really
They at least explain it in, like, the trailers and everything, so it's like, it's not just a pair of pants. But I gotta admit, like, even the scenes with the dad and everything, when he was just legs, you could actually kind of see some of the ways he communicates with his feet and everything.
Kinda, but if you don't see his facial expressions, it's kind of hard to give a shit.
Yeah, but then again, you kind of have to leave it up to your imagination.
Right. Yeah, and Pixar's all about imagination. That was just an idea that was a little bit too out of the box for me, and it just didn't really work for me in the emotional impact. But I will say the ending saved Onward for me.
Oh, for sure. Oh. Like, seriously.
So good.
I'm not gonna lie, the first time I saw it, I'm like trying not to cry, because I'm like, oh my god, it got me right in the feels. In the feels.
She was sitting right next to me, just like this, when we first saw it in the theater, and, you know, I could kind of see, you know, I was like, oh, don't cry, Lauren. Alright, you ready for my number 7?
Okay, I'm scared.
The Incredibles. So, I love The Incredibles. I love the sequel also.
Oh, for sure.
You know, The
Incredibles is still better than the sequel.
There were times where I thought the sequel was better when it first came out. There were times where I was thinking like, oh, yeah. And you know what? Over time, yes, I agree with you. Because the villain in the sequel is just plain bland compared to the villain in Incredibles 1. Syndrome feels warranted and built up over time. Like, he's the overlooked protege. And now he's trying to, you know, get all the attention by going after his mentor. Like, who doesn't really want to be his mentor. But it's...
I mean, it wasn't just Bob Parr that he was going after and everything. He was going after everyone. He just wanted to make a name for himself and just...
Yeah.
Kind of got everything he wanted to through deception and... everything, so...
Yeah, it's
I have to admit, like, out of all the Pixar villains, Syndrome is definitely one of the best. I do have to say, this is personally not on my list. It's definitely an honorable mention. Call me crazy.
Yeah, I will.
I think the part of the thing is that I kind of just don't like how it feels like the male superheroes are constantly trying to trump, like, Elastigirl. And Elastigirl, oh my god.
Oh, she's a badass.
The best.
She's a badass.
I love her so much.
You know,
Let me just say, she reminds me so much of my mom on so many levels. I mean, he knows.
Yeah, I get you there.
Even at a young age and everything, it's like, it's definitely a fantastic movie and everything. I kind of...
Oh, for sure.
But then again, it was also set in the 60s, kind of...
Yeah, and you know, that's another thing about it.
Representation that was still a little bit archaic, I guess you could
feels
say.
Vintage, also.
Yes!
Like, it feels like the family dynamic feels vintage. It's all about a man's midlife crisis. He really wants to be a superhero, but he can't because they've been sued, you know, for doing their job, which is a horrible, horrible thing. But, you know, he can't really be who he actually wants to be, so he has to go into hiding for however long it is. 15 years, I think, was the little... subheading 15 years later at the beginning, but it's a great story. It definitely feels very vintage. The score by Michael Giacchino also gotta mention that. Oh, that theme song!
He's a legend.
Yes, absolutely.
I've also got to say the Incredicoaster at California Adventure,
which
fantastic.
I still have not done actually. I have not been to Disneyland since my grad night 5 years ago. We were gonna change that last year, but the Roni was like, huh. Nah, you can't do that right now.
At least there's 2022.
Yeah, there is. But anyway, yeah. So we're 4 deep. We're almost halfway through. Number 6.
Hey, so for number 6,
I'm so scared.
I have Inside Out. And I gotta say, this is a fantastic movie. I love Inside Out, but
I have it a little bit higher.
Yeah, I mean, this would have been a little bit higher for me, but then there's also just some of the other classics that I feel like just have a little bit more of an impact on me. I do have to say, Inside Out of most of the films I've done, it really shows, like, what goes on in everyone's head in a perfect way, and I'm...
So good.
I am not gonna lie, there are actually some times where I'm like,
good.
What would my core memories be? What would this be? What would that be? What would my long-term memory look like?
It's an amazing, amazing idea that Pete Docter brought to the table, and it just makes me...
It's definitely one of his best, for sure.
It's... For sure. It's... It really hits you in the feels, you know.
Yeah.
But it's also very funny. It's very funny as
yes!
well. Anger
and the voice casting for this.
Amy Poehler.
Even more perfect than Onward. Even more perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amy Poehler is fantastic. Also, Phyllis Smith as Sadness. It's like, let me just say, like, I cannot count how many times where it's like, all you wanted to do was just reach into the screen and just give Sadness a big hug and tell her that everything was gonna be alright. And you're like, hey, are you feeling better? And then she'll just tell you,
no.
Remember the funny movie where the dog dies?
Oh.
I don't know why that is the most morbid line ever, but it cracks me up every time.
Old Yeller is not a funny movie, by the way. There's a lot of animal cruelty that goes on besides from that damn ending. But, you know, it's, again, exactly to your point. Anger, also. Anger.
Yes!
Congratulations, San Francisco! You've ruined pizza!
First the Hawaiians, and now you!
Yeah, who puts pineapple on their pizza? It's incorrect.
Or green chili for the New Mexicans.
There you go.
Let me just say, you should never send anger to New Mexico or Hawaii.
And also, just a side note, never play the Triple Dent Gum commercial around her.
Okay, I'm out of here.
No. Triple Dent Gum will make you smile. Triple Dent Gum.
I'm stuck in my head, thanks.
I might put this in, I don't know.
Jeez.
No, screw it. I'm putting it in.
And anyways, going back to some of the other characters, Mindy Kaling is discussed. Oh my god.
Bill Hader is Fear.
I'm not gonna lie. Out of like all the voice casting, I think Bill Hader definitely stole the show.
Yeah, I will be more than happy to go into this once it appears on my list. Yeah. But
and then also one more thing before we move on. Bing Bong. Oh my gosh.
So sad.
I know.
Pour one out for Bing Bong if you have a drink at home. Moment of silence for Bing Bong. Okay. Let's move on to one of the most tragic beginnings of a Pixar film I've ever seen.
What?
My number 6.
Are you gonna...
Yep, I'm gonna do it. Number 6 is Up.
What?
Yep.
What? No!
I knew it. I knew it.
Okay, no. I'm leaving.
Come back.
I'm leaving.
I have to at least explain. This popped into frame magically. Awesome. I can explain now. So, Up is a great film. Also directed by Pete Docter. It's an amazing adventure. The beginning 10 minutes is a better love story than any of the Twilight films ever could write.
Yes, of course.
You know, that was the big meme going around in middle school. Yes, Twilight is trash. I agree with you, but that's not what we're talking about here. But Up... I love it. It's so colorful. Carl, you know Russell.
Yes.
The scene where Russell rings the doorbell after he lifts off. You know, it's so hilarious.
That is true.
Hi, Mr. Fredrickson. Please let me in.
Good afternoon. My name is Russell, and I am in Tribe 54. And are you in need of any assistance today, sir?
I'm not in need of any assistance because I will explain myself. So, Up. Again, I love it. It's on my list for a reason. You know, if I didn't love it, it wouldn't be on my list. Alright? Just throwing that out there. But the thing that always gets me with Up is a gigantic plot hole. Why is the villain the same age as Carl by the end? Why is he the same age? He should be dead.
No, I've actually read an article saying that Carl was in his 70s and Charles Muntz was in his 90s. And that Charles Muntz was 23 when he took off for Paradise Falls, which...
I don't buy that. He looked a lot older than 23.
I read an article where Pete Docter confirmed it, and if I ever find the link, I will ask him to post it in the comments.
Pete Docter, if you're watching this, I love you. But, you know, it's, again, like, I love Up. It's great. I mean, all these characters, Kevin is a great character, even though he doesn't say one damn word. Doug. Oh, man.
Doug is greatest. I mean, all of like to come up with the idea with like the talking colors and everything for the dogs and everything. Also, a little fun fact, and this was from my friend whose brother worked at Pixar. Like during the time when they were developing Up, they actually went to the dog daycare that was catty corner to Pixar and observed the dogs.
There you go.
To really get their behavior and to get what they were saying perfectly. And I gotta say, we gotta go to Doug first, and then we'll talk about the other dogs.
Yeah. But are you gonna stop the dogs at any point? Stop, you dogs! Again, you know, I love Up, and you know, again, I would be remiss if I didn't at least point this out, but look at what Lauren got for me for our anniversary, guys. Look at, it's an adventure book. I'm not going to reveal what's inside, but like, she did such an amazing job on this. Look at it, and now I have it back here always as a memento. So, you know, it's great. I love Up. All right, yeah, let's move on. Halfway point, number 5. All right, number 5, halfway through. What you got?
All right, so for number 5, we talked about this earlier, Coco.
Oh, here we go. Here we
All
are.
right, and this is why it is so high on my list. I think part of it is because it's so, like, beautifully designed with the world of the dead, with the land of the dead, the land of the living. Oh my god, it's so beautifully designed, even with the skeletons and everything.
Yeah.
And then also just the whole music element, because I can kind of relate to Miguel in being young and being told, hey, you can't play music because it's no lifestyle for somebody.
Yeah.
Because I can't count how many times that probably me and other people, especially you, probably in the arts, deal with this. Like, it doesn't make money, blah, 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 blah. So,
yeah.
And then we've also got to talk about, like, some of the acting in there and some of the cast in there. Anthony Gonzalez as Miguel.
Yeah.
Such talent, like, for such a young age too.
I know. He's great.
Unbelievable.
He's great. You know,
but
I love Coco, like you said. It's a truly stunning achievement by Pixar. Culturally significant also. The cultural impact, especially where I'm from, like, it was just really inspiring to see Pixar put out a film like that.
Oh, for sure.
And
also going to the voice casting, I gotta admit, like, my absolute favorite is Hector and everything. Like, Gael Garcia Bernal, who I have to say is an amazingly talented individual. Also, it's like, I'm also a fan of Mozart in the Jungle on Amazon, and he stars in that series. Like, if you watch Mozart in the Jungle and then you watch Coco, you cannot separate the two characters. You cannot separate Rodrigo from Hector. It's like, they are so similar. They both have, like, that charming trickster sort of, like, vibe and everything. And I've got to say, he just pulls off the musician who's kind of aloof
yeah,
role. He pulls off that role so well, and it's fantastic. It's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, you know, and like you said, it's a film that really just gets, like, deep. It cuts deep. Like, you know, the ending, again, I can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, for sure. And also the spirit guides. Oh my god. What a fantastic design for all of those. And
yeah,
the crazy cat lady in me is probably screaming because of Imelda's spirit guide. The one that looks like a freaking jaguar with wings. Oh my god.
Just wait until we get to another film on this countdown. We have another cat we got to talk about. But
yes.
So
yes, we do.
I totally understand why that's in your top 5, and you know, I can sense why it's in your guys' top 5 probably. By the way, if you've made it this far already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you've been enjoying hearing Lauren and I just argue back and forth and getting so mad at each other's choices. But anyway,
doesn't that always happen? That's basically just...
Yeah, it always happens. This is usually how our conversations go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hold on. So my top 5, Lauren,
Am I gonna freak out for this one too?
I mean, you might, but here's the thing. I said this whole list was tough. The top 5 especially was really, really hard for me because I had to, it was a bunch of juggling around. I was like, maybe I like this film more, but like I had to be honest with myself, and just to put spots like, I really don't know how to word this, guys. I love every single one of these next 5 films I'm about to list off for different reasons. Some more than others, but for the purposes of this countdown, number 5 is Ratatouille.
Yes!
Yeah.
Yes!
Yeah, Ratatouille.
I would have been so disappointed if it wasn't on your countdown. I would have been so disappointed with you.
Oh, no, you knew it was going to be on my countdown, though, for sure. Ratatouille is the most underrated Pixar film out of all of them.
I couldn't agree more.
This is...
And also, it's being brought back to media now with the Ratatouille...
With the TikTok musical!
Which I have to say, I've watched it several times. It is fantastic. fantastic. It's so
You love
well
it.
done.
You gotta love it. I want to do that one day. So it's
Yeah. Like,
but this was just once again directed by Brad Bird, who did both Incredibles films. He just knows what he's doing with the animation genre. This is such a beautiful looking film. The backgrounds look like something out of a Van Gogh painting almost.
Oh,
it just
of
looks
course.
so beautiful.
they definitely captured like the Parisian image like well and everything.
Patton Oswalt as Remy,
Yes!
also perfect casting. You could feel his enthusiasm for cooking and for human food. Just, you wanted him to pursue his dreams. All the human characters also, Linguini, you know, all these side chefs, you know, the evil chef, you have the one that's not very good trying to take
And
over
the
the whole
food
restaurant.
critic.
Ego. Ego is one of my favorite animated character designs of all time. Like, you could just tell that this guy means business. You know, like, and it leads to one of my personal favorite endings out of all these Pixar films. As a critic myself,
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Oh my god.
it really hits home, man. And they really got every aspect of that correct. You know, it made me want to eat a big plate of ratatouille. You know, I wanted
Or
to
make
eat all
it.
that damn food. You know, it's such a great film.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it's a movie that I'll just have on while I'm cooking because it gets me in the mood for cooking.
Yes.
And I do have to say, I did like recreate the soup that Remy makes at the very beginning of the film one time. It ended up being pretty good. I mean, I kind of just like guesstimated, but still.
I want that one day.
Yes, you'll get it. And then also, it's like, we've got to admit, just like the play on words with the title and everything, oh, that couldn't have been like a more original idea. And we've also got to talk about the voice casting for it too.
Patton Oswalt.
For sure. We've also got to talk about Lou Romano as Linguini. He just pulls off the aloofness so well. And also, just like we were talking earlier about Onward.
Are you sure that wasn't Mikey Wilbanks that was voicing him? Shout out to Mikey again.
We love you, Mikey.
Oh man, but I love Ratatouille. It's great. You know, if you've never seen Ratatouille, what the heck is wrong with you? It's on Disney
Watch
Plus right now.
Ratatouille.
Yes, absolutely.
Watch
Everybody...
that, then watch the musical.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Don't watch the musical first because that's just
You just need
strange.
to know the movie first because it's just such a well put together film. They actually make the food look unbelievably appetizing compared to like most like. It's almost like a Miyazaki film where it's like they show the food and it makes you want to eat it.
That is very well put, Lauren. It looks so much like a Spirited Away, like a Studio Ghibli film in a lot of ways. All the food looks so delish. Like, I could go for a big plate of that damn Ratatouille right now. Like, again,
Like,
I'm sorry I sound like a broken record, but it looks damn good, guys. But anyway, yeah, we're getting down to it, folks. Number 4. What you got?
Based on this, I have Finding Nemo.
Oh no, only number 4. Oh man. Okay, alright, go ahead.
Okay, and here's why. This is definitely, compared to like a bunch of the earlier Pixar films, this is definitely the best in my opinion. They totally captured like the oceanic images and everything. It made me want to just go and swim in the ocean so bad all the time when I was little. It just definitely fed my ocean-loving soul.
Finding Nemo is an absolutely euphoric looking feature. You know, just underwater, that whole realm, like, if you want to call it a realm, like, it's one that I've always loved seeing on film, whether it be for The Little Mermaid, Finding Nemo, and yes, to an extent, Aquaman, but we won't talk about the main actress in that one, but, you know, Finding Nemo is just so beautiful to look at. I love all the colors. I love all the characters. They just, you remember what each character looks like.
Yes, of course. And it's like, you could just quote it so easily. It's like, if you just named a character, you could just quote one of their lines. I mean...
P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. I remember what it said!
We gotta go to the voice casting. Speaking of which, Ellen DeGeneres, as Dory, that is like her most iconic role to date. And every time when I was little, every time my brother and I would finish watching the movie, we would replay the scene where she's speaking whale again.
Oh, such a great thing.
Find son.
I always
come back. Whoa! I'm sorry.
I won't come.
Come back. You pulled the triple dang gum on
I'll
me,
finish.
so of course.
I guess I'll finish it, but
Shut up.
okay. So I have Finding Nemo just a little bit higher personally for personal sentimental reasons, I guess, but. Again, like you said, Ellen DeGeneres is absolutely fantastic. You could not picture another voice coming out of that fish. Albert Brooks also. You could just look at that clownfish and be like, okay, that's Albert Brooks right there. Willem Dafoe as Gil.
Yes, I was just about to talk about that.
Such a great character. And
also a very scarred, traumatized character too. If you think
literally
about it.
a scarred and traumatized character. You could see the scars on him, and it was animated really well.
And I've also got to talk about the fish in the tank. Let me just say that's 2020 as a whole, because it's you keep them in a box. It's they're not gonna. I mean, let's just take Flo for some reason. You can talk to my sister, to Deb. That's me. Or you can talk to my sister Flo. Hi, how are ya? Don't listen to anything my sister says. She's nuts.
I'm gonna quote the whole movie.
I mean, this is such a quotable movie going down to that point. It's you could quote anything from this movie and everyone will know what you're talking about.
I always pull the Dory guessing game on her whenever we're on FaceTime or whatever, just talking to each other.
Yeah.
It's orange and it's small.
That's me.
Oh, yeah. All right. I love this film. It's such an amazing... And the message also. They do keep kind of hammering in the overall message of it, but... Admit it, I'm not a parent yet, but it still really hits me deep down to my core.
Probably because you know how your parents act with certain things, or my parents, or anybody's parents, for that fact. And we've also got to talk about Nemo, the titular character.
Yes.
Alexander Gould at the time, such a great performance. Definitely embraced the innocence and the wanting adventure that most kids want and
he did
desire.
He did earn himself a cameo performance as one of the truck drivers in Finding Dory.
Yes, I remember that.
Because he, his voice got too deep to do the role again for that one. But
of course, he grew 20 years older.
Yeah. Finding Dory came out. It wasn't that long ago. Don't make me feel that old.
Okay, I was close enough. 10 years, probably.
Give or take. But I love this film. I'll be glad to talk about why I have it a little lower once we get to it. But you want to talk about this? See, this is why I was so surprised that you had Onward on your list. I was just thinking,
seriously?
Is this recency bias? Maybe not. My number 4 is Soul. Yeah. I've got Soul above Ratatouille. I've got it above Up. And I've got it above The Incredibles. I've got it above 3 out of the 4 Toy Story films. Just a spoiler alert. Soul was that damn good. And it only came out a couple weeks ago at the time of filming. Today is the 14th at the time of filming. It really hits you, man. And It
definitely got me several times when I've watched it.
I have a whole 12-minute review of Soul on my channel. So if you want more in-depth thoughts about it, definitely check that review out if you haven't already. Just a cheap plug there. But I will say this for right now. This was the film we needed in 2020.
We definitely needed it.
This was the film we needed to tell us to enjoy the simple things in life. Because that's what last year was really all about for me. As sucky as it was a big, big opportunity for us to focus on the more simple things. Because, usually before pre-pandemic, we were just always going, always busy, always, checking our phones and, getting to point A to point B all the time. But we had all this time to focus on the more simple things in life. And I think Soul was a great reminder of that, while also being extremely, inspiring just about life. It just feels
of course. And then also having a very, diverse cast as well.
Jamie Foxx.
Yes, we have to talk about.
I could not picture a better voice for Joe Gardner than Jamie Foxx. He freaking killed it.
Oh, of course.
I think... I would honestly say he deserves an Oscar nomination for it. I don't know if he's going to get it.
We need to have, Oscar nominations for actors in animated movies.
I think Soul could legitimately win Best Picture at the Oscars.
Oh, for sure.
I think it could.
Like, honestly, that was the best movie I have ever seen this entire year.
Here's the thing.
Ever.
If Toy Story 3 and Up could get nominated for Best Picture, Soul certainly can. And Soul's better than both of those, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, to me, this was like It's a Wonderful Life with an Inside Out complex.
Yeah, I remember. Or, like, the reverse, It's a Wonderful Life, because this guy...
Because Joe's dead. Joe dies in the first 10 minutes. Spoiler alert, I'm sorry, but Joe dies. And then it's all about getting, you know... and that's something that I mentioned earlier about Soul. This is another fantastic point the Nostalgia Critic made in his Disney-cember. I kind of wish Joe accepted the Great Beyond at the end. And he wasn't just, like, given another second chance or a Deus Ex Machina. You know, like, if he just accepted that, like...
But then again, that would have been a predictable route, if you think about it.
I don't know about predictable. I think it would be more predictable to give him that second chance, like they did, you know? But, I don't know. I feel like
but
it would
I don't know. It's like death isn't always the answer.
Right.
It's like, I think
course
through
not.
that, the whole, like, mesmerizing out-of-body experience, no pun intended, without a body, but it's like, it kind of just showed him, hey, I know that, like, even though you weren't, like, super satisfied with your life before this whole thing,
yeah,
you can just learn to appreciate the little things.
Because
if he had died, then that point wouldn't have been made.
Absolutely.
So kind of arguing with you on that.
There you go. Yeah, hey, and that's what this show is all about, really. You know, it's all about argument for the sake of fun discussion. You know,
of course.
So and that's it's fun. But I love Soul. Definitely check it out. It's on Disney Plus if you haven't seen it already. Check out my review for it if you want more in-depth thoughts about it. But here we go. Number 3. Enlighten me.
So number 3, we talked about this earlier.
We did?
Ratatouille!
Yeah.
And here is why! Definitely one of the best that Pixar has ever come up with. And then also, it's like, it definitely just brought up our spirits, especially now during this time. I think the fact that they made a musical out of this is probably why it's so high on my list. And then also, this is one of my favorite Pixar movies, even before this happened.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, I just have always enjoyed food, and it was always, like, very, like, appealing to the eyes, the ears. It just appeals to, like, all your senses in a way.
Absolutely.
And it just makes you wonder, I wonder what that would taste like. I'm tempted to make some.
Yeah.
And also, another fun fact, like, my cousin used to work at the French Laundry, and the kitchen in the French Laundry is the basis for Gusteau's restaurant.
Wow.
And the ratatouille that they make in the film is the French Laundry ratatouille.
There you go. Connections. But...
And then also, it's like, you gotta talk about, like, the entire cast, and it was so well voiced. Also, a lot of really fun quotes in the film as well. I mean, it's not, like, as quotable as a bunch of others.
No.
But you gotta say that there are still, like, some really fun little moments in the film.
I agree.
As well.
I agree.
I really liked how they, like, shrunk a lot of things down to, like, a rat size. Like, that was very, very fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
And it definitely embraced, like, some parts of the French culture as well, if you think about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just down to, like, the voice acting also, and the accents. And
for sure. Jeanne Garofalo, or however you pronounce her name.
Yeah. Oh.
Definitely nailed the French accent.
So good. I mean, I feel like I've already said what I need to say about Ratatouille, like, in my entry on this list, but... I definitely agree with you. It's definitely top tier Pixar.
Yeah, but then also it's like I have a couple more things to say. One of the things that we did not talk about when we talked about this earlier, it's the dynamic between Remy and Linguini. Oh, that is like one of the
hair.
The hair. Oh, that is just
puppet master. Okay, here's the thing. It does feel very silly. It feels very inherently silly to have a rat up there pulling his hair. Yeah. Yeah, but then again, it's like, how does that work? Why are the hair the puppet strings almost? It's kind of like...
It's kind of like cheesy
I don't know
way
how
of
that
putting it,
works.
but it was so well put together.
Yeah.
They needed to figure out how to hide it. It was like, I'm pretty sure that was the best idea that the animators came up with. But, you know,
It's very fun. It's very fun,
It's
for sure.
very fun.
Yeah. Want to talk about fun? We talked about this movie way back at the beginning of this. Toy Story 2 is my number 3. Highest ranking Toy Story film on my countdown. The other two, not Toy Story. Mm-hmm. So that should give it away. Toy Story 4 is not on this countdown, even though it's a great film. But, man, this film came out back in the year 1999, which was a huge year for cinema. I mean, you got The Matrix, you got The Sixth Sense, you got a bunch of other crap. Toy Story 2 was definitely wedged in there, and it was one of the best films that came out of that year, I think.
Oh, for sure. It definitely brought it up in terms of the Toy Story franchise overall, because it definitely introduced the best characters. It brought the story forward on every single level.
Yeah, I definitely feel like...
It was also, like, in my personal opinion, a lot more entertaining than the first.
Yes, it absolutely was. I mean, it had a better villain this time around with the Prospector.
Oh, for sure.
And it was a great reveal, and his motives made sense. Woody in this, I feel like, had a lot more interesting arc than just being in exile.
Yeah, of course. And then also, it was kind of like a redemption arc for Buzz.
Yeah,
if you think about it.
To an extent, yeah. Well, Buzz was doing that to return the favor from the first film.
Yeah.
Basically. Woody...
Then again, redemption arc.
Yeah, and Woody was redeemed in the first film also, but the second film, like, he basically becomes an exile on accident. Like, the toys don't put him out.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a battle from within. You know, it's all the toys actually banding together and, you know, being a team against this big, gigantic chicken. Big, giant chicken.
Money-hungry chicken.
That's a villain voiced by Wayne Knight from Space Jam. You remember him?
I haven't seen Space Jam. Why are you giving me that look?
Never mind. But, Toy Story 2, man. That was... Even back when I was a kid, I would watch that VHS tape on loop. A lot more than the first one.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also one of the first films I saw before going to Walt Disney World.
Yes, absolutely. Jessie, we talked about her also. When She Loved Me, that whole song sequence was so heartbreaking.
Gosh, that song makes me cry every time.
Randy Newman is hit or miss for me, but that song really got me, man. He got me. It was a great, beautiful, beautiful sequence. Well, it was a tragic sequence.
If Sarah McLachlan is singing it, of course it's going to make you cry.
Yeah, really, really gets to you, man. But, yeah, it's a great movie. It really is. Best of the Toy Stories, as far as I'm concerned. If you like the first Toy Story more, that's totally fine. I totally understand it. I just think 2 is better. Speaking of 2, number 2.
Number 2.
Here we go.
This was originally going to be my number 1, but let me just say, things definitely changed.
Oh, no.
It's up!
Wow, okay. Swerve and a half.
I told you so! I told you it was going to be on the very top of my list. I just didn't tell... I told him, way earlier when we were planning this that Up was going to be my number 1, but let me just say, things have definitely changed.
Swerve and a half, man. All right.
Okay.
All right, I'll let you talk about Up.
Okay, and here's why. Let me just say, everything about Up is, just picture perfect. Just, it's one of the most original and kind of, unique and also a little bit bizarre plot. Because I'm pretty sure, with Pete Docter, I'm pretty sure he pitched to the writers and the Pixar team, what do you think would happen if we got an old man, a Boy Scout, a golden retriever, a big colorful bird, and a house of flying balloons together in South America?
You get
thus Up was born.
You get the most eccentric retirement of all time.
Yes, exactly. And I gotta admit, it's so cute. It's so original. I do have to say, the beginning always gets me in the...
Yeah,
and everything.
This is something...
It's still my favorite. It's just so well written. I saw it twice in theaters, and... There
you go. That explains it.
Let me just say, I was dying both times, in the later part of the film.
Yeah,
Russell is such a fun character. It's he's such a quotable kid too, like I said. And also it's like you've got to talk about like just all of the other characters as well. Like going back to the dogs, Doug, oh my god, the first scene where they meet Doug, oh, it was so perfect. It's like, that rock looks like a turtle, oh, that one looks like a dog, and then Doug comes out and it's like, and then he says sit, Doug sits, oh, he's trained, shake boy, speak, hi there.
Oh,
that whole introduction just got me.
So great. I love it.
So well written, so adorable. And then we've also got to talk about the other dogs, Alpha, Gamma, and Beta. I love it.
I forgot about them. I forgot to talk about them.
About the first scene where they get introduced, where they're looking for it, and then when you look at Alpha, the Doberman Pinscher, it's
the
like
German Shepherd, almost. Like either that
German
one or
Shepherd,
a Doberman.
No,
yeah.
it's a Doberman.
Yeah.
Doberman. The ears.
I always get them mixed up.
Yeah, it's a Doberman.
Yeah.
It's a Doberman. Anyway, so it's like the moment you look at this Doberman intimidating looking dog, you think that his voice is gonna be like intimidating, but then
it's a chipmunk.
It's a chipmunk. And when I saw that in theaters, I lost it.
Genius comedy there. Like, never, ever, ever judge a book by its cover. You know, it's the ultimate don't judge a book by its cover character.
Yeah, there were so many of these that just, oh my god, there were so many of those moments in the entire film.
Yeah.
And
I love it. I love it.
We've also got to talk about some of the scenes with Charles Muntz. It's like the voice casting. Christopher Plummer did a fantastic job. I mean, also it's like, you know how you have that talent where you can look at a role and be like, oh,
that's Christopher Plummer. Yep. Yeah. It's.
I mean, tell me I'm wrong.
And Carl, like, to that extent, Carl Fredricksen also voiced by Ed Asner, Santa from Elf. Like, come on now.
Yes,
that is
course.
An Ed Asner role. Like, you just look at Carl and you don't even need to hear him say 2 words, and I'm like, that's Ed Asner from Elf. You know,
Yes!
I'm sorry I sound like a broken record when I say that, but it's so true about Pixar. They just get the designs so perfectly, except for, you know, Monsters Inc. But anyway,
Okay.
So,
Fair enough.
and Cars, to an extent, because Cars is stupid. But anyway, there's a reason why it's on neither of our lists. But Up is obviously, I love it. Number 6 on my list for, you know, it's on my list for a reason, like I said. I was talking with my mom about this earlier. Like, she always shuts the film off after the beginning part, 10 minutes, because she thinks that it's going to be this big old depressing thing. And I'm like, Mom, it's a reversal. It's going to be happier after that. You got to keep watching it. And she just hasn't done it yet. But,
yeah, she still needs to, especially with, like, some of the other scenes with Kevin. And also, I need to quote this before we move on.
Oh, no.
The scene where Kevin, like, jumps up onto the roof and is trying to gather food, and then Russell's like, her babies! Kevin's a girl? That is for sure one of my favorite lines. I remember, like, with my group of friends in high school that I'd watched Tangled with, I remember talking about this back in the Disney countdown.
Yeah.
This Up was another one of those movies, and every time at that part, my friend Ariana, this is for you, she would always, every time that line would come up, she would always, like, quote it along to the movie, and then we'd just lose it.
Kevin's a girl?
Kevin's a girl?
No way. That's not a girl's name. It can be, though, if you watch Up. Alright, you ready to hear my number 2?
Yes, I am!
Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo is number 2. Yep, getting this shirt into action here. So, this is, to me, the most nostalgic Pixar film for me. Above all Toy Story films. This was the first film I ever sat in a theater to watch back in 2003.
Me too!
Yep, it was so amazing. Such an incredible experience. I will never forget that as long as I live. You know, I feel like my love of movies, in a sense, started with Finding Nemo in that theater. It was just such an amazing experience to go to this place where you can see a new movie on a gigantic projector screen and just
making me
just
miss
take it
it
all
again.
in. Yeah, it's we'll be back. I promise. So, this film, you remember every single character's design. You remember a lot of the lines. You remember the messages. You remember just... I can't say enough good things about it. Just the adventure of it is so incredible. Their encounters with the sharks right off the bat.
Yes, we totally forgot to talk about all the encounters that they have. We have to discuss this.
Yeah.
So just the whole thing with the sharks, I have to admit, that took a little bit of a turn as well. Also, like, we totally forgot to mention the Shining reference.
Here's Brucey!
Okay, and then we've also got to talk about that whole scene. It's like when Bruce is trying to break out, and then Marlin is just freaking out like, we gotta escape, and then Dory, being the absent-minded and forgetful fish that she is, she's like, who is it? I'm sorry, you have to come back later, we're trying to escape, and then looks at the little wheel and is like, hey, you might want to let escape. I don't know, it looks like the word escape.
Dory is so dumb.
But it's, like, so cute, though. I love it so much. And then we've also got to talk about the scene with the jellyfish, and then also the scene with the turtles. We totally forgot to talk about the sea turtles. Dude.
I love the fact that the turtles are just Southern California surfers.
I know.
They're just surfer dudes. That's their gimmick.
It's just so fun.
It's so great.
And I've got to admit,
great.
It's like, ever since I first saw the movie, I would always just be thinking, I want to go on a roller coaster that's just like this ride. I know they have one in Disneyland Paris. I know they have one of those in Disneyland Paris.
Well, they do have the submarine voyage in Tomorrowland, but that's
not the same thing.
I mean, you're on that little submarine for like 10 minutes or so, but it's not. It's okay. It's it's not my favorite ride at Disney theme parks, but this is another film, like I was mentioning earlier. The reason why it's in my top 2 is because it really touches me on an emotional level. It really tugs at my heartstrings. And there's only one other film, like, in front of this that really, really got to me after I saw it for the first time. But, I mean, this is one of my most rewatchable Pixar films also. Like, I could pop this in and I could quote the entire movie. As you've clearly seen, we can quote the entire movie for you. But it's great. It's great. I love it.
It's just a classic. I love it so much.
Well, we finally made it to that point, Lauren.
Oh my god.
Number 1.
So my number 1, this was one that we talked about earlier.
Yep.
It is Soul.
Mm-hmm. I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah, and I gotta say, there's so many reasons I love Soul. It's not just because it's their most recent. It's just definitely their most mature film to date. It's definitely the most well-designed, the most well-written, the most diverse. And also, judging from the look on his face, there's another thing that we totally forgot to talk about earlier.
Mr. freaking Mittens.
Mr. Mittens! How could you go wrong with Mr. Mittens?
Yeah.
He's so cute!
Yeah.
And then also just...
I knew it.
Come on, just
this
the fact
conversation was going to pop up eventually.
Yeah. And I mean, he even got me the little Mr. Mittens Funko Pop for Christmas.
As you guys know from watching my Soul review, I got her the Mr. Mittens Pop, and I showed my mom, like, I was just like, okay, here's the story, right? So I was just going through Target, like, like any normal person would during the global pandemic. And I see that pop on the shelf, and I was like, Lauren would love this. Even though neither of us had seen Soul at that point. This was Christmas shopping still. So I brought it home, and I showed my mom what I got her, and she was like, that is the most precious Funko Pop I've ever seen. And I'm like, well, I know she's gonna love it then. So, and
yeah, and then I watched the movie, and it's like, oh my god!
Yeah, spoiler alert also, I was not expecting Mr. Mittens to have as big of a part in this as he did with the body swap.
Yeah, neither was I. Like, that body swap just got me that time.
Perfect body swap.
Although it's like, I have to admit, during that one point, and spoiler alert to the people who have seen it, the minute I saw Mr. Mittens' soul headed towards the great beyond, I'm like, please just let the cat survive! Please just let the cat survive! Please! The cat needs to survive, and he survived!
He did survive. He did survive, and he's a big chonkster.
We love the chunky kidders.
Yeah.
We love our chunky kidders! Excuse me for getting all cutesy.
It's okay. So it's okay. But, so Soul...
Okay,
Soul, like I said, is an instant Pixar classic. It really just tugs at your heartstrings, not only that, but it also just tells you, again, focus on the simple things in life. Never
Oh,
take
for
anything
sure.
for granted. I sure as heck am not going to take anything for granted anymore after the
Oh,
year
for
we had
sure.
last year.
Absolutely.
Like even just like the taste of pizza. Like Tina Fey's character, who we forgot to mention.
Oh, yes,
22.
Oh my god.
I was hopeful that Tina Fey would be like really, really great, but I was like, like she's been kind of hit or miss with her comedy. Perfect.
Absolutely perfect for the role. And I
So
mean,
funny.
also, it's like, I like how the running joke is that, like, all the souls, because the souls are still developing, like, voices and personalities and all the other little traits and everything, how it's like, compared to all the other souls, they have Tina Fey voicing this one because, spoiler alert, it annoys most people.
Yeah, and it's a very childish character
Yes,
too. But
for
like,
sure. And it's
even
like,
she doesn't like the thing I really respect about this performance is she doesn't do anything with the inflections of her voice to make her seem childish. You know, she just talks
for
like
sure.
Tina Fey. And
yeah, it's basically Tina Fey, just in soul form.
right, yeah.
And I mean, like, I gotta admit, like, another thing
So
having
fun.
to do with your hidden talent, I looked at this and I'm like, that is totally Tina Fey.
Oh yeah, oh for sure. And I said this in my review also, for those of you who haven't seen it, but Joe and 22 I feel like could be the next great Pixar trio after Woody and Buzz.
Oh,
I
for
fully
sure.
believe that.
For
You
sure.
know, it's such a great pairing. They have such great chemistry together. I love it. I love Soul.
Yeah, and then also, like, going to the whole, like, Inside Out, like, every time I would watch Inside Out, I'd just be thinking, oh my god, I wonder what my core memories would look like. Sometimes I'd be like, I wonder what my soul would have looked like in The Great Before.
Yeah.
And everything, and
Me
what
too.
I would have been attracted to in The Hall of Everything, what I would have been excited about with this. I wonder who my mentors would have been.
Right. It's just
It's
so
weird
imaginative.
to think. It's weird to think about it, but it's also
It's
really
like one of those
interesting.
weird like mind trips that you get.
Yeah,
all the
and then
time.
I've also
Like,
got to talk about the scene where 22 ventures in the area with like the lost souls and the people
Yes.
who are in the zone. Like that area where she's messing with everybody in the zone. We have to talk about that.
the sign twirler in the zone.
Yes. I love that.
I feel
Moon
like
Winds.
he has the soul of Crush from Finding Nemo. Like that dude with the hair and the sign with the soul of Crush. Like just
And of course they needed to have some souls that were hippies. It was just
they had to.
it
They
was
had
just
to.
meant to be.
Yeah.
And then we've also got to talk, like, going back to the scene where they're in the zone and then 22's messing with everybody with the actress, and it's like that, as actors, we both know that is so relatable. And then also the joke with the New York Knicks. Oh my god. Line?
Yeah. Oh, and the New York Knicks, that
Oh,
joke lost me. I was so done after that. I was like, I feel so bad for anybody that's a New York Knicks fan watching this and 22 screwing it up for you guys. But it's genius. It's genius. It's totally well worth its spot at number 1 on any list. You know,
Oh, for sure. I think it's, like, Pixar's best as far as we're concerned. That's
well, you know what I think is Pixar's best?
Is it what I think it is?
Also directed by Pete Docter. My favorite Pixar film is Inside Out.
Yes!
I
think it's fantastic. I'm not gonna...
Now,
I love this
again,
movie, too.
I was really, really, really struggling choosing between this and Finding Nemo, personally. But, I had to be honest with myself. Inside Out is a much better, like... I think it's a much better message, and it tells it in a more effective way.
Oh, for sure.
And I think it's only fitting that the movie that resonated with me the most emotionally is all about emotions. And, like, just seeing how they operate within your brain, like, Pixar's interpretation of that.
Oh, of course.
Genius.
And I mean,
Headquarters is a great pun. It's so awesome. Like, they go up to the brain, and then they're like, oh.
How come I never thought about that?
Yeah, Headquarters is up in her brain, Lauren. Film is almost 6 years old. How could you just be noticing it? The master of puns.
Shut up.
But anyway.
Okay. And we've all got to talk about, like, some of the other things that they have, like, come up with in the film.
Yes.
In this. Like, we didn't even talk about the dream productions, how they organize dreams. Oh, that whole dream sequence, that was probably, that's one of my favorite scenes in the entire film.
And
It's
joy and sadness going in there and fucking up the production. Excuse my language there for a minute, but like, and then Bill Hader just sitting there watching it and then booing how horrible it is.
Boo! Pick a plot line! I'm like...
That's me! That's me when I'm watching a bad movie. That's usually me. I sit over here, like,
Are you sure you're not Bill Hader?
I'm not. But, like, here's the thing, guys. Like, those of you who are watching my reviews, this is only a part of my room over here. But, like, I have my recliner behind the camera right here. And whenever I'm watching a bad movie, like, say I'm watching The Happening, for example, I'm sitting there in my recliner, and I'm just like, boo! This sucks! No plot! Pick one! But it's that Bill Hader so relatable when he's watching Dream Productions, but
oh, for sure.
But again, Inside Out just really tugged at my heartstrings. It really made me tear up the first time I watched it. Sometimes, like, the message that it has, sometimes to have joy, you also have to be sad to get there, and I think that's a very resonant message for what all of us have been going through over this last year. Just a reminder to you guys, this isn't a permanent thing that we're going through right now. This is temporary. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And we're all going to be feeling joyful and happy all together, singing Kumbaya, I'm sure, in no time.
Oh, for sure. And we have to talk about one more thing.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the end credits scene where it's showing the emotions of everybody.
The emotions of the dog.
Yeah, the emotions of the cat, especially. Like, that is so accurate. Like, seriously.
Oh, man.
There are times I'd be watching the emotions and I'm like, oh, that's Phoenix. Or, oh, that anger is definitely Chibella. And the moment where the fear cat just goes and, like, screws up the controller and then the cat just... goes nuts. Like, I remember when I saw this in theaters with my brother, he's like, oh, now we know why Hobbs does that sometimes.
I love when...
And I read, like, a YouTube comment regarding that scene, and it said, I saw this, and someone in the theater shouted, oh, that's why cats do that!
I love when the bus driver is just sitting there,
like,
and it's
just all anger.
It's all anger. You know, he hates his f***ing life. You know, and he's
If I was a bus driver, I would hate my life, too.
And, like, the triple... Like, no offense to bus drivers or anything like that, but, like, he's just sitting there and the Triple Dent Gum song just comes on and, like, all the angers are just so upset. And I love anger in this film. The way he just gets progressively out of control. Like, Riley starts spinning out of control along with him, like, as, you know, the movie progresses, and it's a beautiful, beautiful arc for everybody. It's so well told. It's a fantastic message, and I think everybody should watch it. That's my favorite Pixar film.
It's definitely one of the best, for sure.
Yeah. Pete Docter certainly knows what he's doing. I cannot wait for all of Pixar's new content coming out in this next year. Lightyear is coming out with Chris Evans. Perfect casting.
I think Inside Out should come up with a sequel showing 2020.
Please.
That would be so relevant. I would love to see that on so many levels. I want to see how the emotions deal with this. I want to see how...
I'm begging you, give me an Inside Out sequel, please. But Lauren, this was a fantastic time, I'm sure.
I'm for sure.
You know, if you guys loved seeing us argue like we always do, I'm sure, about, you know, entertainment and all that, please do consider hitting that subscribe button once again as hard as you possibly can if you're new. It is free. It definitely does help out the channel. It helps us out, and you guys will be the first ones to know anytime I upload a new video over here. And please be sure to leave a thumbs up on your way out too. I'd really appreciate that. But yeah, thank you guys, and be sure to sound off in the comments below. What are your top 10 Pixar films? I'd love to discuss them with you guys further. Look out for more exciting content hitting this channel very, very soon, as always. With all that being said, back talk.
Comments!